Hello, I'm Miss O'Donnell, and today we're going to be talking about copyright basics. Our essential question for today's lesson: what is copyright and why is it important? Why is it important to educators and teachers, and why is it important to students? Our lesson objectives. The learner will be able to distinguish between appropriate and inappropriate use of digital content. The learner will be able to create a slide or video presentation answering these questions. What is copyright? What is an original work? What are 3 examples of types of original works? And what does it mean to ask and attribute? What is an example of fair use? Copyright defined. Copyright refers to the legal rights of an original work. When you think about a song or a poem or a story that you have written, you have legal rights to that because that is an original work that you have created. You are considered the creator of this work, and that gives you legal rights. Here are some words to know for today's lesson. Another definition of copyright is legal protection creators have over the things that they create. License. There are different types of licenses that determine how much or how little you can share, alter, or use copyrighted material. So creators do have the right to limit how much you can use of their material. They may allow you to use a little bit of their material. They may allow you to use all of their material, and they can even say you can't use any of their material. Creative Commons. That's a type of license that allows for flexibility in how copyrighted material is used or shared. Fair use. Copyright exception for teachers and students. So with fair use, they do make an exception if it is for educational purposes. Attribution, citing or giving credit to someone's material. Plagiarism, using someone's work without giving them credit. We've talked about that before in our presentations and making sure that we are not plagiarizing when we find things on the internet. So what is an original work? Don't think of original work as an invention, some new or novel idea that's going to make the world a better place or make our lives easier. Think of original work as something that is not a copy of something else. On the next slide, we'll look at different types and examples of original works. There are many different types of original works. An original work of the author can include literary works, such as stories, poems, musical works, such as songs, dramatic works, such as plays, pantomimes and choreographic works, pictorial, graphic, and sculptural works, things such as photographs, drawings, different types of art, motion pictures and other audiovisual works, sound recordings, architectural works such as sculptures, buildings. So, basics to copyright laws. Copyright laws were created to protect the creators of original works. The laws were put in place to know if one may copy whole or part of original works in any medium. When the internet, it became much easier to copy from a variety of digital materials. Therefore, all material on the internet is copyrighted unless specifically stated. So when you think about yourself as a creator, when you write a story or you write a poem, or maybe you create a video, you do have legal rights that protect you. People cannot copy your works without your consent. So earlier we talked about the vocabulary word attribution and how that is where you need to give credit to the creator of the work. So when you find that photo that you want to use in your presentation slides, and it's one that you have found online, and it's just going to make those slides pop, you first have to ask yourself, what kind of copyright license does the work have? And do you need permission to use it? So if you do get permission to use it, or you've checked the copyright license and it is one where you are able to use it, you need to give credit to its creator. Also consider these: asking the creator for permission to use the work. When you use the work, make sure on your slides or whatever you are creating that you add the author and the date. You also should provide a link back to the original source so that the creator gets credit for their work. Creative Commons and fair use. Creative Commons. These are free copyright licenses that help others understand how the creator wants their work to be used. You can look for the Creative Commons attribution. This license allows anyone to build upon the content. So when you're looking for that, you will see CC, BY in all caps to help you understand that this is one where you are allowed to use the content and build upon it. You can remix it or tweak it to make it an original with your own material. So you can start here when searching for content that you can use. There's a search portal, the creativecommons.org. This is a great place to start to find materials that you're able to use in your own content that you are creating. Fair use. Small portions of copyrighted material can be used by teachers and students as long as they are cited. There's 4 areas to look for in fair use to see if it is something that will stand up to the fair use different responsibilities there. The first one is purpose. Is it educational? If it's educational, then more than likely it'll be something that you can use for fair use. One thing to consider with the educational materials is whether it's going to affect their sales or not, and that's another area that we'll look at in a minute. But if it's going to affect their sales, then even if it is educational, it may not be part of fair use. The nature of the material. If it's a nonfiction or based on fact, then it more than likely will be fair use. A lot of times things that are creative or fiction will not be part of fair use. The amount, using smaller amounts than the total work. So just taking samples of things, a lot of times this will be considered fair use. And then the last one, which we already kind of spoke about, the effect. Will it affect the sales of the material that you're using? If it affects the sales, then it will not be considered fair use. A lot of times as a student, it's going to be difficult to use something that's going to affect the sales, but you still have to take this into consideration when you are using someone else's material that they have created. So questions to consider. These came up in the lesson objectives and they're going to come up again. They've all been answered in this presentation, and this is what I want you to think about. What is copyright? What is an original work? What are 3 examples of types of original works? What does it mean to ask and attribute? And what is an example of fair use? Thank you, and that concludes our presentation.